All right, the Star Spangled Banner. In the United States, it's our national anthem. Lyrics were written by Francis Scott Key and the music by John Stafford Smith. We're going to start by learning the acoustic guitar, and then we'll learn the lead guitar part. The tabs, chord chart, lyrics, all of that is right beneath the video player at sixstringcountry.com. So let's launch right in and learn the chords that we're going to need. We've got a standard G chord, and then we're going to be moving to an A bar chord, which is just open A string. Then we're going to bar the second fret of D, G, and B. And then we've got a standard D chord. Then another one we're going to need is this G over B, and you'll see us walk down from this D, and we'll kind of take our middle finger, hit just that third fret of the A string. It's a C note, and we'll walk down to G over B chords, which is the same as the standard G chord. We're just going to take that middle finger out of the equation altogether and just play the chord starting on the A string. All right, we're also going to need to know a minor chord once we get towards the end there, which is just open A string, second fret of D, second fret of G, first fret of B, open high E. Then there's one progression that you'll see later on in the song where we're going from an E minor to an A to a D. And we can just really, you can almost focus, it happens so fast, you can focus on just playing kind of an E power chord. But if you want to, you can do a full E minor, which is just open low E string, 2nd fret of A, 2nd fret of D, open G, open B, open high E. Towards the very end of the song, you'll see a couple D sus chords, which is the same as the standard D major, but we're going to take our pinky and add it in on the 3rd fret of the high E string. Last but not least, you will see a C2 towards the end of the song, which is just 3rd fret of A, 2nd fret of D, open G, 3rd fret of B, 3rd fret of high E. All right, the strumming is the same through the whole song. It's in 3/4, and we're just going to use all downstrokes. To get the right feel, we're going to kind of aim at the low strings first, and then at all the strings, or specifically the higher strings. So it gives us kind of this 3/4 feel, right? And that's going to be the same through the whole song. So I'm going to just go nice and slow through it once. I'll call out the chords as we go, and then we'll turn on the metronome and we'll play through the whole thing at full tempo. So from the top of the song, we're going to start on this G chord. Stay on the G, and now 1 downstroke on the A, and now a D chord. Back to the G, 1 downstroke on an A to the D. Now we're going to walk down to this 3rd fret of A, and then G over B, D, and back to the G. Then that whole thing repeats. So we're basically starting that progression over on a G. One more time on a G. And we're going to do G, 1 downstroke on an A to a D, G to an A to the D, walk it down, G over B, D, and G. Now we're starting the next section. 2 measures of G, 2 measures of D, then we got G, 1 downstroke on A to D, walk it down, and here's where we do G over B, E minor, A, and D. Then G, now here's the C2, now A minor, and now D sus, then D, and then we got G, and then 1 downstroke on a G, and this is Land of the Free, where, you know, on our version, the lead guitar does a little riff there, and we hold that out until the drums lead us back in. A lot of times vocally, this is where they'll hold that word out for a little while. And then we're going to get back into the song on this D sus, to the D, and now the little tag at the end of the song, we're going to do a G, and a C2, and back to the G. All right, and that's the whole thing. So let's turn on the metronome and let's play through everything that we just learned at full tempo. From the top, 1, 2, go. Come in here to go. All right, we'll look at the lead guitar part note by note, and then we'll go through it at the end at full speed along with the metronome. here's how the first section looks. Alright, we'll learn just that much. And just a quick note, if you're playing with a band, with the drums and the bass and the acoustic guitar and everything like that, then of course you have to stay with them, right? But if you're not, oftentimes you'll hear a lead guitar player just kind of rattle this off by themselves. Then you can take a lot more rhythmic freedom, so it doesn't have to be... It could just be... Right, so you can play around the melody as much as you want if you don't have the band and the drums. But for the sake of the tutorial, we're going to kind of learn it to where we can play it along with the band. But all that to say, take some liberties if you're playing it by yourself. Just noodle around. It's in the key of G, so you can kind of noodle around within the G pentatonic and diatonic scale and make it as fun as you want. So, learning this first section, first one. Sound familiar? We got G chord, right? We're basically outlining a G chord. So we're in the position 3 diatonic here. And we're going 7th fret of G, 9th fret of D, 10th fret of A, and then back up. Ending on 8th fret of B. Then we're going to do a bend on the 10th fret of B, pick it again, come back down, back to the 8th fret, and then over to the 9th fret of D, kind of slide up to 11, and then slide up to 12, and then come back behind it right away with this middle finger. That's just a little extra thing we can do to make it a little more interesting. Then I like to slide back in here to the 7th fret of G. Another bend on the 10th fret of B. Back down. Then I do a little trill. So that's just hammer on to 10th fret of B, pull off to 8, and end on 7. So. And then over to the 9th fret of G. Back to the B string, 7, 8, and then back down the G chord. And then that section actually repeats just exactly the same way one more time through. So I'll play through it again. We won't talk through it. We'll just play it a little bit more fluidly. So we're repeating it. All right, then we get to the next section, which sounds like this. All right, let's learn just that much. So we're up on the 12th fret of B. I'm kind of muting with my left hand. Kind of got my pointer finger dragging. I'm muting these other strings because you want to be able to kind of give that some energy, pick it pretty hard, and just have this 12th fret of B ring out. Then up to 13, and then a big full bend, and another one. Come down, and then a little trill, and then down to 10th fret, back up to 12. And this time, you're going to almost underbend it. You don't want to overbend it. It's just a half bend. You're trying to get to this note, right? So back down. 8, another trill, down to 7, and then over to the 9th fret of G, 7 of B, 8, and then we're going to do what we did in the section A. So that's 9, 11, slide up to 12, and slide up to 12 again. All right, then we get to kind of the closing section, which looks like this. Then you can do whatever you want here. I did. Then we'll end it. All right, so let's pick it up right there on the 7th fret of G, 8th fret of B. Then we're going to go down to 7, 9, 9 of G. Then we're going to do this little run. That's just a little something I threw in there just again to make it a little more interesting. That's 10th fret of D to 7 of G, 9, 10, 7 of B, 8 of B, then up to 10, slide up to 12, half bend, back down, 10, 8, then we're going to bend on the 10th fret of B, then get your pointer finger on the 8th fret of high E, and we're going to cluck that with the 3rd finger of our right hand, and then come back down on the B string. So far we've got and we've got kind of the big finish, right? We're going to slide back into the 7th fret of G, 8 of B, then up to 10, 12, 13, and a big bend. And here's where you can do whatever you want. You could do get as crazy as you want there. Whatever I did in the recording was this. Sorry. Just a little riff there to fill up some space before the drums kick it back in. So we're bending up on the 13th of B, down, 12, 13, 12, 10, 12, 10, 8, back to 10. Then you're going here. And this is really where we start the riff on that 9th fret of G. So from here, we're going to cluck this 8th fret of the B string. So then pull off from 9 to 7 on G over to 9th of D. Then cluck, roll it back and cluck that 9th fret of G. So far we've got. Then back up here to the 7th fret of G. And then 9th fret of D and slide down. Pull off to 5, and then the same kind of thing over on the A string, 7th fret, roll it back, cluck it, back over to the 7th fret of A, 5th fret of D, 7th, slide up to 9, and then give it a little bend / vibrato, and hold it out. All right, one more time, just a little closer to full tempo. And then we're going to end it with, we can slide in from wherever, 8th fret of B, 10th, bend, same kind of cluck on the 8th fret of high E, come down, 8th fret, 10th fret, and then a little bend and pull off down to the 8th fret of B, and then we're going to end it with the big finish. So we're basically just playing around in the G scale here. We're gonna have our fingers to start, 7th fret of G, 8th fret of B, hammer on to the 9th fret of G, back down, slide down on the D string from 9 to 7, pull off to 5, and then hammer on with both the A and the D string, barring on the 5th fret, hammer on to the 7th fret of A. And then same kind of thing, hammer it down again, back down, and then slide down from 7 to 5 on low E, pull it off to open, and then just a big open G chord. 3rd fret, mute the A string, open D, open G, 3rd fret of B. And that's the whole thing. Again, take some freedom with it. You don't have to play it exactly like I do. The big thing is just making the melody recognizable enough so that people know what they're listening to, and then you can really add in any kind of additional riffs or licks that you want to. So let's turn on the metronome, play through it at full tempo. 1, 2, 3, 1, go.